what you end up doing here, because of assimilation, a person will deny or ignore differences, a long preferred position, pull other positions to an accepted zone. So L3 or R3 may assimilate L2, L4, or R2, R4 views. It's a form of distortion that occurs as this system here will be able to pull these to it. And that's why you have in national parties, the center and the left and right wing, and much of what will go on in Denver is a way to do a kiss and make up here. So they can all stand on the podium at the very end and raising their hand. And I think that Jimmy Carter is still looking for Ted Kennedy, if you remember that. Kennedy was running from Carter at the time. Now, in handling the Israeli-Palestine issue, what we're trying to do, among other things, is carve into the confidence of these elements on both sides. And we're trying to build through NAPITs. We're really trying to build this system right here. And he spoke of it often, because there will come a time when pragmatists, moderates on both sides have to simultaneously reject their radical endpoints. It's a effect. You can't do it from one side. It's at the same time you're building superordinate goals over this. Goals or values everyone wants to achieve here, but neither side can do it unilaterally. And there are a whole series of those superordinate goals that we've been isolating. So through a series of building those, at the same time, these people have got to be the ones to tell these people where to go. These people here can tell them, but they won't listen. And that's why, by employing the natural control processes in systems, where they do it, is how you have the very best chance of it being done effectively. If you throw caution to the wind, and whatever happens, happens, you're a blooming idiot. That's why I proudly announce I'm a Machiavellian. That's what Machiavellian does. But does it in behalf of the spiral, not in behalf of his own self-interest or that of his particular group. I'm talking about what peacemakers ought to be doing, as opposed to sitting around drinking coffee and saying nice things to each other.
Don?
Yeah.
Historically, are there any examples of where that tradition, that push down, that breakaway has occurred naturally in societies?
We engineered it in South Africa. There's a lot that happened, which I hadn't told him about, that's not in the book. One of these days I'll debrief it. I was going to do it with Graham if he could have been there. Some rather stealth-like things that we did. That's why I was on Good Morning South Africa constantly, and Radio 702, and you've seen some of my op-ed pieces in South African newspapers, and just on and on and on. It looked like Beck was just kind of flapping his mouth. But I had a very tight systemic program that I was doing, because I was trying to, gosh, I can't, I'm embarrassed to tell you some things, but I was trying to get white moderates here to deal with their Eugene Terreblanche and their extreme BBB right wing. I was trying to get them to do it so that Mandela wouldn't have to do it. And here, with Boutellezing crowd, and working with Lenon Milan and others, we were trying to get, and even with Tex Harris. Tex Harris was Consul General in Durban, and was one of my key operatives, if you can believe that. He doesn't know what strings I was pulling on him, because I was doing sanctions busting for Tex at Genie. I bring over all the balloons and everything else for the 4th of July celebrations. So he was beholden. Because we were building in moderates here a sensitivity to what these radical voices were, even South African Communist Party. because there would come a time when we knew we had to call to action our agents here who would do precisely what we wanted them to do, but they didn't know we wanted them to do it. They wanted to do it. Now, did you follow me there? Didn't happen by accident. Mandela was a total surprise. But I'd heard from his jailers what kind of person he was, so I had pretty high hopes. We even formed a political party, Democratic Party, and when FW called for a vote to see if the white population was with him in his making a deal with the blacks, what we put in the platform of the Democratic Party became the platform for the Clerk's National Party. We used a Trojan horse. We informed the clerk through the party that he was running against, because we knew he would reach the point of embracing that, but they didn't know how to, so I wrote so many of the campaign documents and speeches that I was really writing for the clerk at the next election. I had great fun. I mean, it was, but it was all calculated. And it was calculated around, again, building and you'll find these in the Crucible. You'll find a series of superordinate goals, seeing green and gold springbuck colors on black skin, you see, which are unified because of the so sports crazy. And we had a series of things like that. Was there a guarantee that would work? No. One assassination, I mean, it could just blow it off. And so it's precarious, and no one can claim that they did anything. But things did happen. And my experience is through natural design. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Natural design is how a whole society self-corrects, does non-linears on a massive scale. And so that was the total strategy. I've got a lot of it written down because it was almost a diary as we were walking through this thing. So in contrast, a person will displace or contrast other positions and push them away, and the gap widens, and that's when they demonize, and that's where the us versus them. Of course, this comes out of Robert's Cave experiment too, of the eagles and rattlers. But that's the context in which trying to operate within a very complex environment when there are strong emotionalities and huge gaps that could become sinkholes, and how you use the best case with no guarantee that it's going to work, because human nature is just too flighty, can't be programmed that clearly. So that's what I mean by a natural system versus the imposition of an external force, military or sanctions or something like that.
How can you call it a natural design